Welcome aboard, TTA travelers.
Some happy songs, some snappy dances, costumes and sets, spoofs and romances.
For you Earthlings just joining me, I'm Sunny Eclipse, bringing you the sunny side of entertainment from Unork City on the planet Zork. Up here with me today is the galaxy-famous, amazing
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your guide to the Disney parks and experiences. I am your host, Lou Mangello, and this is show number 807. And together, since 2004, we've been sharing Disney magic here through the podcast, my weekly live video every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, blog, events, newsletter, and more. In addition to the podcast, there's a lot more to explore. Plus, you can join the community and conversation and find everything at WDWRadio.com. So I am fresh off our WDW Radio Halloween on the High Seas group cruise on the Disney Magic, and I'm already looking forward to future group adventures on the Disney Treasure in November and Disney Destiny in 2026. And having come off the Magic and spent a little bit of time on one of my favorite ships in the fleet, I thought it was the perfect time to reveal my top 5 places and spaces on board the current Disney Cruise Line ships, where I love to relax, recharge, revel, and just enjoy the magic of cruising. And of course, I want to hear from you and I'll give you an opportunity to share your favorite place or space on the Disney Cruise Line fleet and why. Also, be sure to stay tuned for our Disney Trivia Question of the Week for your chance to win a Disney Prize package. And don't forget to sign up for my free weekly email newsletter and update to stay connected and not miss a thing. Plus, when you do, you can grab a free copy of my 102 Things to Do at Least Once in Walt Disney World book. Please connect and chat with me on social. I am at Lou Mangello on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if you're looking for a speaker for your event, conference, or business and want to learn how to apply lessons from the Disney parks to your organization, or if you are a creator or solopreneur that wants to turn your passion into your profession, head on over to LouMangello.com. Whether it's speaking engagements, workshops, courses, or strategies to take your ideas to the next level, I want to help you transform what you love into what you do. And now let's get into this week's show. And if you like what you hear, and I hope that you do, please share the show and tell a friend. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. I'm a huge fan of Disney Cruise Line. Actually, as I'm recording this, I'm thinking out loud. I've been cruising on Disney Cruise Line since 2005, and our first group cruise was in 2006. And I just got back from our WDW Radio Halloween on the High Seas group cruise. It was incredible. I'll talk more about it on upcoming shows. And with our next adventures already on the horizon, including our group cruise on the Disney Treasure in February 2025, and the Disney Destiny in 2026. You can visit the events page at WDWRadio.com to find out how to join us. I couldn't help but start to think about some of my favorite places and spaces across the DCL fleet. And even though my personal downtime was very limited on this past cruise, during group cruises, I'm pretty busy, plus I'm really bad at relaxing, but I found myself thinking about and recommending, especially to first-time cruisers, some of my go-to spots on the Disney Magic, and we were talking about some of the other ships as well. So this week, I'm excited to share my current 5 favorite places and spaces throughout Disney Cruise Line. And no, they're not all dining located. All right, they're not all food-related, but they are sort of places that I like to go either to sort of get away from crowds or unwind, or just because of the vibe that's there. Because if and when I do my 5 favorite dining locations on Disney Cruise Line, it will be a very different list. And I am recording this literally weeks before the Disney Treasure makes her maiden voyage. And when she does, I have a feeling that this list is going to need to be updated with places like the Haunted Mansion Parlor, Periscope Pub, Scat Cat Lounge, and Skipper Society. But it's because those spaces are probably going to dominate the new list that I am doing this now. Of course, I will have my full review of all the spaces on the Treasure after I sail later this year. Again, if you want to join us on the Treasure in February, you can visit wdwradio.com/events and get a free no obligation quote from our friends over at mousefantravel.com. But I digress. I want to get right into the list of my 5. And number 1 on my list is number 1 on my list. I'm not sort of counting down backwards. This really is the very first place that comes to mind. And I've been very fortunate to have sailed on all of the current ships in the fleet. And I've always liked this space on the 2 sister ships. But when the Disney Wonder went into dry dock for a refurbishment in 2019, it came out more beautiful than ever and included not 1, but 2 locations that are on this list. But the very first one replaced what was the Promenade Lounge on both the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder. On the Disney Magic, it is now the Soul Cat Lounge, but I lean very heavily in favor of the French Quarter Lounge on the Disney Wonder as my number 1 favorite spot on any Disney Cruise Line ship. And this New Orleans themed, obviously specifically to the French Quarter, themed lounge, which is an area that is home to not just places to relax during the day, but family-friendly activities throughout the day and into the evening, live music at night, and it is the perfect complement and really appetizer to Tiana's Place restaurant on the Disney Wonder. It is incredibly well themed, from the jazzy atmosphere of the lounge to some of the Dr. Facilier, I've got friends on the other side vibe. It is this wonderful, wide open, but not loud space that is sort of immersive and transports you into that lively but laid back vibe of the French Quarter. If you pay close attention, it is full of charming details like wrought iron accents, that street lamp style lighting, and that Mardi Gras almost inspired decor, but without it being sort of over the top and like wildly colorful. And for me, like in terms of entertainment, I will take a jazz trio or a pianist over a big band or even a huge theater show all day, every day. And I'm not a huge drinker. There's obviously a lot of non-alcoholic drinks and snacks as well, but there's great themed cocktails here as well as real life French Quarter favorites like a Sazerac. And that's just some of the nods to true New Orleans culture. Like you can even get beignets there and chicory coffee, which is served throughout the day and during some of the themed events as well. But what I like and what I liked about the Promenade Lounge and even Soul Cat on the Magic is that throughout the day, you can find a booth, you can find chairs, whether you are going by yourself or in a small group or a large group, and you can play games or just have like quiet conversation without having to worry about large crowds or music, etc., in the background sort of overtaking the space. And I think the lounge shines really also as a sort of a quiet respite from some of the busier areas on board. When there's nothing going on there, especially early in the morning, or even when things are going on there, they're usually pretty laid back and pretty reserved. And it's a very relaxed and serene environment. So if you want to sort of get away and recharge, from the crowds or read a book or just sort of look out over at the ocean, the fact that it is nestled midship, it always sort of feels very intimate and almost sort of tucked away. And it's sort of this nice little peaceful hideaway that you can unwind with a book and or a drink. The lighting is very low. It's super comfortable. And that jazz infused ambiance is it's like a nice calm contrast to the very busy and bustling pool decks and some of the more energetic entertainment venues. So whether you are stopping by for a quiet coffee in the morning, a pre-dinner cocktail, or simply escaping for just a little bit of tranquil time, I think the French Quarter Lounge is that perfect blend of Disney magic, peaceful retreat, theming, and that New Orleans vibe that really sort of elevates the Disney Wonder experience. And now the more I'm talking about it, I'm smiling, thinking about how and when can we get a group back on the Wonder again? Okay, I'm going to move from the Disney Wonder, which is I am a huge fan of the classic ships, right? The original two are the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder. They are the smallest and oldest ships in the fleet, but I do like the smaller size. I think there is something very charming and very quaint about them. And the Disney Dream and Fantasy is sort of that next level, but follow that same overall layout and structure. Now, the Disney Wish is very different in terms of the design and the guest flow. Some people love it, some people don't, and that's okay, right? Different strokes for different folks. We all have different things that we love and enjoy. But I do think while the Disney Wish may not be my favorite ship, I think just because I am more comfortable with sort of these original layouts and the design of some of the spaces, there is an aspect of the Wish that I really, really like. And it's not taking me long to get to a food-related place and space, but it's not necessarily just because of the food. And what I'm talking about is the Marceline Market, sort of the Disney Wishes version of Cabana, the buffet location in the aft of the ship, obviously named after Walt Disney's childhood hometown, Marceline, Missouri. It is so beautifully, it's a quote-unquote food hall, but it is so well themed. And yes, the dining stations are very diverse, and it makes you feel like you're sort of walking through quaint little markets and local farm stands. And there's almost a sense as you walk through of exploration and discovery, and I think a little bit of community just by virtue of the way the space is designed, which I think is a fitting homage to Walt and his roots. But it really is the design and the layout. I'll sort of take the food out of the equation even. I think it's the design and the layout that makes me like it so much more, especially, this is a not very much secret, but for me, it's sort of almost like my little secret space. If you walk in, if you're sort of heading towards Marceline Market, on your left-hand side, which would be the starboard side of the ship, when you first walk in, you'll have that wonderful little coffee bar and seating area to your right. But if you make a left, there is a little room off that, again, it's the starboard side of the ship, which has about maybe 10 tables, 10 small tables, and 2, maybe 3 large booths, which are facing the windows. And it's almost tucked out of the way. And not a lot of people go there because as you're walking forward and you're making your way down the buffet line, you sort of naturally are sort of led towards the aft of the ship or to one of the seating areas off to the starboard or the port side. But this little room is usually very quiet, and I think is an extension of almost the feel of Marceline Market as a whole. Like Marceline Market to me feels a little bit more laid back and almost nostalgic versus Cabanas, which I love and frequent on the other ships. And yes, while, if we'll talk about the food, while Marceline Market, like Cabanas, has a number of stalls that specialize in different cuisines, I do think it's a little bit more elevated on the Wish at Marceline Market than it is at Cabanas, especially in terms of some of the more eclectic and maybe even robust international dishes. But if you don't go during the peak breakfast or dining hours, I do feel it is a little bit more of a laid back dining experience than it is Cabanas. And if you look very closely at the decor, you'll find these wonderful subtle nods to Walt's history and family life in Marceline. There's a lot of vintage style signage and artwork that I think kind of reflects that small town charm. And it almost feels like artisanal, hand painted signs that makes you feel like you're in this quaint but bustling marketplace. And I just think that plus the floor to ceiling windows that line the entire area really sort of fills the market with natural light. And whether you want, a table for 2 or a table for 1, there's also the cozy booths in that one area, communal tables, and even some bar style seating to give you a nice, relaxing, peaceful meal with a nice view of the ocean. I love just sort of going there, grabbing a cup of coffee or tea and 6 or 7 small plates of snacks and just relaxing or getting some work done. So for number 3 on my list, and I find it seems like I'm tending towards these places that are a little bit more laid back, a little bit quieter, a little bit more relaxed. Look, I love going to the Walt Disney Theater, and I love the adult district on the different ships. I love being out up on deck and watching funnel vision, usually with a plate of chicken tenders or two. But I do find myself tending towards finding some of the more quiet, out of the way, and sometimes smaller spaces as well. And that's going to bring me over to the Skyline Lounge on both the Disney Dream and the Disney Fantasy. And while they are, for the most part, almost mirror images of each other, I think the Skyline Lounge on the Dream is a little bit more lively and interactive. And I think the Fantasy Skyline Lounge, which is the one that I have on my list, is designed intentionally to be a slightly more intimate, a little bit more relaxed vibe. I think it has subtler lighting and a more quiet ambiance that gives you a peaceful yet upscale spot, which, whether you want to go on your own or as a couple for a quiet drink or in a small group of friends, it's a great place to have conversation. And while I'm not a sweets guy, I'm also not a big drinker, but I do like this intimate space. And both the Skyline Lounge on the Dream and the Fantasy have this unique set of quote-unquote windows that displays rotating city skylines from around the world, including Paris and New York and Rio de Janeiro. And the decor changes subtly to reflect each city's ambiance, including the lighting and even some of the background sounds that help sort of subtly evoke those locations. And the reason why it's on my list is, one, I love this subtle, sort of yet immersive world travel vibe without having to leave the ship, that gives adults, this is an adults only area, a quiet yet sophisticated escape with a little bit of, sort of wanderlust thrown in. There are also some very subtle, very cool Easter eggs that you can find in some of these rotating windows as well. And while they do have unique, sort of more upscale city-themed cocktails that enhance that international ambiance, and for me, if I was to get together with a small group of friends, I think this is the ideal spot to gather for a quiet drink or soda or whatever it might be. And other than the exceptional level of service, you almost forget that you're on a Disney ship. And for number 4 on my list of favorite places and spaces, 99% of the Disney cruises I go on are for our WDW Radio groups or events. So I don't really get a lot of downtime. Plus, I'm also really, really bad at relaxing, but that's on me. But I do love the feel of the Cove Cafe on all of the ships. Now, I have to say, I don't like places or anything that excludes anyone, including kids. So I was almost a little bit hesitant to include this on the list, but I do like some of these, as you see the trend happening, the quiet spaces to work or just have a coffee, tea, or maybe a little nosh. And the Cove Cafe is a staple on Disney Cruise Line, usually located near the Quiet Cove pool in the adult section. And it's a very cozy coffee shop-like atmosphere, usually with rich paneling and very comfortable seating, some nice views of the ocean or the pool. So it's a great place to go to relax with a book or just some alone time or a quiet conversation time. And it's consistently, I think, really a go-to spot for people that are looking for those serene escapes, especially in the early morning when the ship is just starting to wake up. And what's nice is that it serves specialty coffees and teas along with cocktails in the evening, and these all come at an additional cost. And usually there are some pastries and light snacks available throughout the day. And there's always a wide variety of specialty and sometimes seasonal or themed coffee and other barista crafted creations. And while each of the Cove Cafes across the Disney Cruise Line fleet is consistent in terms of its overall theme and sense of relaxation, each ship has unique touches in terms of decor and ambiance, which gives each one its own little bit of special character. So, for example, the Disney Magic and the Wonder both have that classical nautical cruise ship theme, the rich dark wood accents, the maritime inspired decor, very warm, very inviting colors and vintage elegance of the original Disney ships that are a little bit smaller, a little bit more cozy compared to the newer ships. So you get that intimate, quiet escape And on the Dream and Fantasy, it's a little bit more of an elegant modern design, a little bit more upscale, a little more polished and contemporary. The furniture is a little bit sleeker, very high quality finishes. There's also some additional Disney artwork and photography on the walls, which adds a nice, very, very subtle human Disney touch. In all of the Cove Cafes, you won't really find any Disney character prints or anything like that. It definitely has a much more adult, sophisticated, upscale feel. And the Cove Cafes on the Dream and Fantasy, like the ships themselves, are a bit larger, a little bit more of expanded seating area, both indoor and some shaded outdoor options, which is really nice. So if you want to be outside in the fresh air, you're right near the adult hot tub and the small adult pool. Very comfortable seating. So you can always sort of find your own little private nook, whether it's inside or outside. So if you want a little sort of quiet getaway from your kids or other people's kids, the Cove Cafe in the adult section is not only convenient for guests who are hanging out or lounging or in the adults only area, but it really offers a very peaceful setting with a little touch of luxury. And it's a nice, sort of contemporary take on classic Disney charm. Now, on the Disney Wish, it's a little bit different in terms of the fact that it almost feels a little bit more like a European-style coffee house, very sleek, very upscale aesthetic, very bright, much airier look, lighter wood finishes, very minimalist decor. So it's a little bit more of a modern contrast to the classic style on the old ships. Some people like that. It feels very spacious, very fresh. It does provide a very open environment with some ocean views. I think it's a little bit less intimate than the Magic and Wonder and has a bit more of a current or almost like a cosmopolitan feel to it. Still very calming space if you're looking again for that sort of serene escape. But I think if you are looking for a calm, adults-only atmosphere away from some of the family-centric areas, looking for that peaceful moment, some premium coffee and drinks in a comfortable, cozy seating area with large windows and ocean views, and what I'll call, bring your own entertainment, whether it's a book, magazine, your phone, or a friend. They are all wonderful and unique, reflecting each ship's design ethos, but maintaining that very core, relaxing atmosphere. And if and when you go, don't forget to get the free frequent customer card. For every drink you purchase, they'll mark your card. And I think it's still, once you receive 5 marks, your next drink will be free. And for the last one on my list, I wanted to say the Bayou on the Disney Wish, but I couldn't. There's so much that I like about this venue, yet there's a couple of things that unfortunately keep it off the list. I love this idea, like the French Quarter Lounge, of being transported into the heart of New Orleans. The decor is outstanding. There's hanging moss and twinkling lights and lush greenery, which makes it feel like this magical, immersive environment that's true to the film. And there's live jazz music and performances and specialty drinks and desserts and beignets. I love the location. It's right in the center of Deck 3 midship, so it's a great place, easy stop for a quick drink or a snack in between activities or after or before dinner or the show. There's tons of seating. It's an open design, very casual place to relax, which I think is a great blend of both cozy yet open layout. And that pro is also one of the cons, because the Bayou is open on both sides. So it's enclosed with no windows, right? So you have no ocean views. It can get pretty crowded. And because it's open on both sides, it not only can it get loud, it's cacophonous, because you're getting noise spilling over from the surrounding areas, because it's located in between you have the Hyperspace Lounge and Treasures Unfold on the port side, and then Once Upon a Time, the Royal Regalia, and the Enchanted Castle Jewels on the other. So there's a lot of foot traffic coming to and from, and the Walt Disney Theater in the front of the ship and the Grand Hall behind. So there's a lot of foot, and it almost feels like I felt like I was in a mall, seeing the foot traffic on both sides and the jewelry stores and the gift shop. It sort of detracts from that environment a little bit, or I actually think a lot. And I've been there when it's not crowded and some of the off times, and they'll have like a little jazz trio, and I change my mind. I'm like, this location is perfect. And then sometimes they'll have a band that is a lot louder and playing music that I don't think necessarily fits that space. So these are all the reasons why this is not on my list. However, what is on my list is taking us back to the Disney Wonder and Tiana's Place. And while I said initially it wasn't about food, this necessarily isn't, but the food definitely helps add this to the list because this brings Tiana's dreams of the spirit of New Orleans with a lively dining experience with jazz music, amazing Southern style cuisine, and immersive theming that I think really captures the charm of the Bayou that makes you feel like you are dining in Tiana's own restaurant. Now, I was thinking about spaces and I was thinking about dining, and I'm like, I think 1923 on the Wish is almost far and away the best overall dining experience on a Disney ship. And while I love that restaurant, I dig the more casual atmosphere and theming of Tiana's. I am much more of a casual than a fancy diner. And part of what makes me want to include this on my list is that it exudes that vibrant New Orleans jazz club atmosphere with the Mardi Gras colors, the Bayou-inspired decor, appearances and entertainment by Tiana and Louis the Alligator. There's a live jazz band playing songs from the movie, tons of audience interaction for both kids and adults. So it almost feels like this celebratory event every time you go, and it's just such a happy and upbeat vibe and environment. I like the fact that it's exclusive to the Wonder, making it unique. You're not going to find it on any other Disney Cruise Line ship, which I think adds additional sort of value to cruises on the Wonder. And I really think it's the perfect blend of kids loving the character interactions and experience, while adults will appreciate the ambiance and the music and the decor. And I have to talk about the quality of the food because I think the menu is unique. And I think the food is probably the best that you'll find on the Wonder. Now, if you've cruised on Disney Cruise Line before, you don't have to, nor should you pick only one appetizer, soup, salad, entree, etc. You can, and I think it is, at least in my estimation, encourage that you pick more than one, which is fine because I don't feel any guilt about ordering all four of the appetizers. They have boudin sausage fritters, Prince Navin's Cajun charcuterie board, sauteed Gulf shrimp and grits, and an ahi tuna tartare with mango, pine nuts, radish, and wasabi that is outstanding. They have New Orleans seafood pepper pot, which is like a Creole bouillabaisse with calamari, shrimp, scallops, and parsley that is outstanding. Vegetarian options that include Eudora's artichoke ravioli and honey roasted butternut squash. And 5 main courses that include a pasta, a Cajun spiced sea bass, a roasted Creole half chicken, a roasted pork tenderloin, and a roasted prime rib of beef. There's also a lighter fare that includes a warm water lobster salad with avocado, butternut squash, fennel, endive, jicama, grapefruit, hazelnuts, and citrus dressing that is amazing. A steak, chicken, and salmon, and then not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 different desserts that include, of course, Tiana's buttermilk beignets, a chocolate gâteau, Mama Odie's white chocolate bread pudding, a New Orleans banana foster sundae, and a Southern-style pecan nut tart. There's also an extensive kids menu. So you're going to get the signature dishes that include the gumbo and the shrimp and grits and beignets for dessert that are those authentic flavors that reflect New Orleans cuisine. But it really is more than that. It is more than just a meal. It's a show. It's that live jazz music and entertainment that I talked about that I dig so much, that vibrant New Orleans theme, this wonderful atmosphere for kids and adults. It's fun. It's upbeat. It's not overly loud, but I think it really creates a wonderful, memorable experience, whether you are a kid at heart, or an adult. Now, obviously, I can't have my 5 without just a couple of quick honorable mentions. Funnel Vision almost made it onto the list. I love the sounds of not just what I'm watching, but that quote-unquote background music of kids playing and the splashing water, etc. 2, Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods, Deck 11 on the Disney Wish, I think is the best quick service among the entire fleet, although Daisy's Delight, the Duck and Diner, and Late Night Chicken Tenders from room service are very, very close as well. And then just pick your favorite balcony, outdoor covered area, etc. during a rainstorm. I feel bad for other guests when it rains because it closes all the outdoor spaces, but when it does, I love sort of sitting out on deck or on a balcony or on deck 4 in a covered area and just watching and listening to the rain while on board a Disney Cruise Line ship. But now it's your turn. I want to hear about your favorite places, or hidden gems on Disney Cruise Line. You can share your pick, your favorite spot in the WDW Radio Clubhouse on Facebook. I'll post this question there. Or give me a call. Call the voicemail at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1 and tell me where your favorite place or space on Disney Cruise Line is. I cannot wait to hear your recommendations. Now, I need to go email Becky from Mouse Fan Travel and find out when we can go on the Wonder again. Now it's time to put your Disney knowledge to the test. With this week's trivia question, you can see how well you know your Disney history, or can spot a fun detail or sound clip from the parks. And if you get it right, you'll be entered to win a Disney prize package. And this week's trivia contest is once again sponsored by the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic, happening November 15th and 16th. It's a Friday and Saturday. I know, I just got off a cruise. How am I possibly thinking about food? It just goes to show you how good the Food and Wine Classic is. Plus, this year, it's celebrating its 15th anniversary with 45 different delicious dishes, 170 different drink options, interactive food, beer, cocktail, and wine seminars, live entertainment under the stars, and special ticket packages because they're offering 15th anniversary deals, including 15% off when you attend both nights, which you should because they have different menus. It is a perfect evening or evenings for foodies, wine enthusiasts, or if you're just looking for a night out under the stars. It is my favorite, cannot miss foodie event of the year. I will be there with my stretchy pants, and I would love for you to join me. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. You can get your tickets now at foodandwineclassic.com and join me for what I promise is going to be an incredible weekend. All right, now let's get to the trivia. Before we get to this week's trivia question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So 2 episodes ago, I was talking about scary scenes from Disney movies, and one of the attractions that followed from one of those movies, actually the very first full-length animated feature film, because the Snow White attraction, when it opened in Walt Disney World in 1971, was just called Snow White's Adventures. Years later, they added the word scary to it because it was, in fact, scary. But that wasn't the only change, because in 1994, a previously unseen character was added to the attraction. Your question last week was to tell me, who was it? What new character was added to Snow White's Scary Adventures? This one might have seemed a little tricky on its face, but clearly by virtue of how many of you got this one correct, it wasn't, because the answer is, of course, Snow White, which sounds like it makes no sense. But originally, the idea of the attraction was to put you in the first-person perspective and give you the point of view of Snow White, which means you wouldn't see her in any of the scenes because you were, in fact, Snow White. Not everybody got it, especially kids, and it led to a lot of confusion because they didn't realize that they were meant to be seeing this story through her eyes. So Disney updated the attraction to include Snow White, and while they were there, they toned down some of the pretty frightening elements of the attraction. Anyway, I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one, and last week you were playing for a WDW Radio keychain, stickers, pin, and the mystery item that I brought back for you from the Disney Magic, or maybe more specifically, Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Emmy Brewer. So Emmy, congratulations. I'll get your prize package out to you right away. And if you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World, or actually Disney Cruise Line, Trivia Challenge. So as long as I'm talking about Disney cruises this week, I'm going to give you a Disney Cruise Line related trivia question. And I love the grand atriums of each of the Disney Cruise Line ships, and that first moment when you step on board and are welcomed in by name and you see that sort of grand atrium. Each is unique in theme and decor, and every Disney Cruise Line ship has a statue in the atrium celebrating a Disney character. Your question this week is to tell me the name of each of the ships and the character statues in the atriums, or in the case of the Wish, the Grand Hall. Tell me the name of each of the Disney Cruise Line ships and the character statue in each of the atriums or Grand Hall. You have until Sunday, November 3rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to go to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there, and again, this weekend we'll play for a keychain, stickers, pin, and a mystery prize that I promise you is from Disney Cruise Line. So good luck and have fun. Thank you once again for joining me on this week's show, whether it is your first time listening, welcome, or it is your 807th. Wow, thank you. Just because it is the end of the episode, it does not mean it is the end of the fun. Please come be part of the community and conversation over in the WDW Radio Clubhouse at wdwradio.com/clubhouse. If you want to share your thoughts about this week's episode and your favorite space on a Disney Cruise Line ship, you can call the voicemail. I will play it on the air at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. Let's also connect and chat over on social. I am at Lou Mangello on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And please don't forget to join me this and every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDW Radio Live. It is my live video broadcast and chat, which I love because I love that real-time interaction with you. We can talk about this week's show, what is new and news in the Disney world. And who knows, I might even be live from the parks. And of course, I still believe that nothing beats a handshake and a hug, so please visit our events page at wdwradio.com for more information about things like our upcoming group cruise on the Disney Treasure this coming February 2025, on the Destiny in 2026, our Adventures by Disney to Japan. We still have one room left. You are not going to want to miss this. In May 2025, our Adventures by Disney to Disneyland and Southern California this summer, and our Adventures by Disney River Cruise to Paris on the Seine, as well as optional pre-stay in Paris and post-stay in Disneyland Paris, and our next meet of the month in Walt Disney World. And again, still the best way to make sure you don't miss not just our upcoming events, but new blog posts, exclusive content and offers and more. The best way to be updated is with my free weekly newsletter. There's no algorithms. There's nothing to check. It is delivered to your inbox every Wednesday. You can sign up over at wdwradio.com/subscribe. Thanks as always to my partner, my sponsor, and my friends over at mousefantravel.com. No matter where you want to go, they have been my trusted and recommended partner for more than 17 years. They handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer completely free vacation planning services and an incredible level of personal service that is their hallmark. So you can visit mousefantravel.com for a fee-free, no obligation quote today. If there's ever any way that I could help you, please visit LouMangello.com. You can also see what else I'm working on there, including free resources to help you pursue your passion, and my $7 5-day Blueprint for Solopreneur Success email course. And of course, you can always email me directly, lou@wdwradio.com. And as always, my friend, and you are my friend, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word, share the show, text a link to this or your favorite episode to a friend, post it or share it on social, tag me at Lou Mangello. I will follow you back and help to grow this incredible community and family that you have created. So until next time, thank you again. I love and sincerely appreciate you. Please remember to be kind, choose the good, have a great day, and even better tomorrow. So until next time, see ya.
Hi, Lou. Just finished listening to your new In or Out, episode 802, and I have to say, I loved it. Lisa and Connor were great guests. I can't wait to hear the other 50 or so questions that you might pose. Certainly makes you noodle a few things around and what you think and how you really feel about stuff. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for sharing that. Can't wait for more.
Hello, this is Brandon and Kara Wright. We were the winners of Jollywood Nights last year, your giveaway, and we absolutely loved it. So when it's coming up to that time of year again, we just wanted to say thank you for that. It's fun. And I also wanted to call because growing up, my dad's favorite was Cook the Zeppelin. He would always take us to Disney Springs just specifically for, well, downtown Disney at the time, specifically for Christmas. But I haven't been there since I was a kid, so that episode made me really happy. Thank you.
Hi, Lou. My name is Tracy Disher, and I have been a faithful listener for a long time now. Love your books as well. Your podcast get me out to walk my dog, and I just want to tell you that's awesome. I wanted to make a comment about the scary scenes in the animated movies, and one that came to my mind was Bambi. And not necessarily when the mother died, but the forest fire in Bambi, I thought was frightening. And a lot of it had to do with the amazing music that went along with that movie. But that was something to think about when you were talking about the forest scene in Snow White, and how the forest itself and how she viewed the forest was such a significant piece of why you chose that. I immediately thought of Bambi and the fact of when my children were little and we watched Bambi a lot, that I, as an adult at that time, thought that scene was absolutely frightening. So definitely that scene with Bambi and when the fire is going on and just the animation, the music, the whole thing just seemed so real. Once again, thank you so much for all that you do and appreciate all that you share with all of us, and it keeps us Disney lovers occupied between our trips. So thanks a lot. Have an amazing, magical day.
Lou, it's Patrice Roberti from Metro Boston. So the other night I was listening to number 404, which was Fact or Fiction, and I just was thinking how you know so much about those parks. I mean, your knowledge is so deep and so interesting and so amazing and just so great to listen to. And I believe Disney doesn't let people do private tours anymore. So I got thinking, I wish we could go on a tour with Lou, but of course you would never break the rules of Disney World, nor should you. But then I got thinking, wouldn't it be great to have, I wish you could do a virtual lunch with Lou, or kind of lunch with Lou, where you do a show and you just talk like for an hour, like you would have done with lunch, about things that you know about the park that they might find interesting, they might be interested in looking at. Like I was thinking, it would be great to have lunch with Lou and Mary Blair, where you talked about, her different art and what it meant and where it was in the parks or even in California where people could pursue it. I just wish you would do that. Or even, I know that the Animal Kingdom is far away, but it sounds like you know a lot about it and what maybe Joe Rohde was hoping people would see. That's what I was trying to get at. I mean, you know more than just what's there, but what the people who did it were hoping people would see. And I wish you would do some shows on that where you focus very much on one thing, so that if someone like me ever did come down for 3 days and didn't want to chase around at rope drop and in the heat, as I've said before, but would love to spend a few days just going and looking at Mary Blair's art or understanding more deeply what Joe Rohde was hoping people would understand and think about the Animal Kingdom. That would be great. Virtual lunch with Lou. Because you know so much about it, and just listening to you talk about what you know, even Fact or Fiction was great. If it was all facts, it'd be even greater. Take care. Bye.